Welcome to Traders Consigliere Weekly Analysis. If you are new here, we look at weekly analysis every week to prepare for the upcoming week for the fundamentals that are coming up and the technicals. So, how we structure this is we look at the fundamentals first and the technicals, and the pairs we look at is gold, British pound, Japanese yen, indices such as US30, Dow Jones, SPX, and NAS100. So we will look at the previous week, what happened with the fundamentals. Then we'll look at the upcoming week and see if any of our fundamental biases have changed. And then we will look at the technicals. So for the previous week, we did not have a lot of heavy fundamentals. The main fundamental that we had to keep an eye on was the US dollar fundamentals, the GDP, and Japanese yen fundamentals. So we had consumer confidence that came out on Tuesday, April 25th, and it came in a bit lower, showing economy is in a bit of a recession, right? Consumers are losing confidence in the economy, which is a good thing actually, in fact, because this shows the rate hikes are kind of working. But what surprised here, I think last week, was the new home sales were very up, showing a lot of consumers are still buying houses. So this shows inflation may be persisting, right? And we had durable good orders, which came at 3.2%, which was very high. This number needs to be lower, or at least needs to be around that range, because if you look at the previous statistic, that came in negative, right? So this is a big jump, right? So this may be showing that inflation is persisting, right? So the main thing was the advanced GDP. So one thing you have to keep in mind is we have three gross domestic product reports, right? We have the advanced, the preliminary, and the final GDP. The advanced is the first GDP that comes out, right? So I think if you hit it here, you can actually look at it. So you have three versions, right? So you have your advanced, your preliminary, and your final. So this was the first one, and this came in at lower at 1.1%, showing the economy is in a bit of a recession, right? And that's the advanced estimates. And it's advanced estimates do have a lot of usually do have kind of a lot of reactions in the market, right? Because it's the first report that comes out. But and also the final GDP is probably the most important one to keep an eye on. But this is interesting to see that the economy is still a bit in a recession at the moment, right? From the forecast. Unemployment claims are low, right? So a bit low. This should be actually a bit high if the economy is feeling pain, rate hikes are working. This should be a bit in the red side, but it's in the green, showing inflation is persisting. And you have your advanced GDP price index, right? Your change in prices of all goods and services. And if you look at the number, this is high, right? Higher than the last one as well, and the forecast. This shows inflation is persisting. Prices are going up. Your pending home sales are in the negative. Big drop, big drop if you compare it from the previous month and the current month. Big one. Quite interesting, because if we do see new home sales were kind of up, right? So month over month, the pending home sales have been dropping. So inflation is dropping here. Rate hikes are working. And the main star of the last week for the fundamentals was JPY. And we did see Tokyo core CPI come out higher. But what was interesting with the monetary policy report was they did not want to change anything, right? They wanted to keep their interest rates at negative right there. They still want to inflate the economy, because Japanese yen was heavily deflated, right, for a very long time. So they have to prop up the economy by pushing inflation up, right? So currently a lot of central banks are raising interest rates and are almost coming up to a pause. But Japanese yen has yet to increase their interest rates. So that's what happened. We saw a lot of weakness with the Japanese yen once the report came out, and they chose not to do anything. And we're going to look at the technicals after a minute here. So next week, right, the first week of the next month, May, we have British pound UK holiday. So I would suggest, if you're trading any pairs regarding with British pound, please do not trade them, because during bank holidays we do see a lot of lower volatility, lower volume, and you can trade it, but I suggest for probability sakes to not trade it. We have ISM manufacturing PMI, purchasing managers index, and this is coming in at 46.8, a bit higher from the previous month, showing inflation may be persisting, and also the manufacturing prices. So the main this is a heavy fundamentals week. We will be having big moves, I believe, because we don't only have NFP the first week of the month, we also have FOMC, right? So we have a lot of job openings reports coming out. So we have Jolt's job opening, and this will come at 9.74, a bit lower than previous month, right? So this is going to be important, because right after we also have ADP, right? These are precursor to NFP, right? So these will give you some form of outlook on the labor market, and NFP is probably the most important number. But these numbers are important because there's a possibility we have on the FOMC meeting, we may have the Jerome Powell may comment on these reports, and that can shake up the market. And what are we expecting with the FOMC meeting is we will be seeing a 25%, 0.25% rate hike, right? 0.25%. And that's, I believe that's already been priced into the market. But if they do increase rates a lot higher, maybe to 0.5%, US dollar is bullish, right? Or if they actually take a pause, US dollar is bearish, quite bearish, right? So important fundamentals to keep an eye on Wednesday, right? And one thing to keep an eye on is also we have bank holidays with Japanese yen. So if you're trading British pound, Japanese yen, best to not trade it from Wednesday all the way to Friday, right? So we have a lot of bank holidays with Japanese yen, so take off. And on main thing was on Friday as well, we have a heavy fundamentals. It's NFP, non-farm employment change. And what do we see with the number? The number is forecasted to drop. That's bearish for the US dollar, right? Because the economy is in a recession, job openings are less. And if this number does come in higher than the forecast, or even higher than the previous month, that is extremely bullish for the US dollar, right? So this week is going to give us a lot of data to hopefully see the bias that we have for the US dollar being bullish or bearish, right? So this week will clear it up, and we do see the market is a bit confused at the moment, especially if you look at the DXY. So let's look at the technicals now. So we look at the dollar index first before we look at our pairs. And what do we see? We have a monthly closures this week, right? So we're going to look directly from the monthly time frame. And what do we see with the monthly closures? Price hasn't moved at all, right? It's pretty much in the same spot. We do see this head and shoulders pattern form, but it isn't yet confirmed, right? And we do see price is still in a bit confused here. Like, what do we see on the weekly time frame? Price is still in that range there, right? And this very important area of support around the 101 area. So price is still fluctuating here, not a lot of movement here. So this shows us a lot of investors and traders are waiting for the fundamentals for the upcoming week to make a decision. And if price does break down and we get a retest at that area there, and then another leg, a third leg down, that will confirm that this head and shoulder pattern is confirmed, and therefore US dollar is bearish. So we are still at a place we are still making a decision, right? And one last thing to keep an eye on that I forgot is with the fundamental side is keep an eye on the First Republic Bank fundamental that came out this week. Their earnings report came in a lot lower than expected, showing a lot of uninsured deposits, right? 70 billion missing. So, and from what I have been seeing is the US government may again bail out First Republic Bank by printing more money. If they do print more money, this is very bearish for the US dollar, right? And the banking crisis still continues. So keep an eye on that and see how that develops in the coming week. So let's look at the indices first before we look at the commodities, gold, and forex pairs, right? So let's look at Dow Jones first, US30, and let's look at from the monthly time frame. So what is the monthly time frame telling us? Monthly time frame is still stuck in a certain range, right? Still stuck in a range, right? In this range right here, and but what the current monthly candle is telling us is it is a Marubozu candle, right? A Marubozu candle means it's a lot of momentum, no wicks pretty much to the bottom or the top, showing there was a lot of momentum this month, right? Pretty much, but the candle isn't as big, right? There's a lot of momentum, but isn't as big as the previous months, like this, for example, right? So there is momentum, but we are still stuck in a range. So let's look at the weekly. The weekly is bullish, right? There is no confusing that. We see nice bullish structure, right? And possibly if you zoom out a little bit, there is kind of inverted head and shoulder patterns forming as well, right? There, possibly, right? So it is bullish. It's looking bullish at the moment, and the current weekly candle does look extremely bullish, right? We have pretty much a bullish engulfing on the weekly. Let's look at the daily. So what happened last week was we were waiting for this entry right here. We were hoping for a retracement, but once the banking crisis fiasco happened and we had the earnings reports come out last week, we had a price retraced only towards here. Did not give us the full retracement we were looking for. So let me delete this area there, and let me see if we have any new opportunities to look at. So the daily time frame is bullish, right? Why is that? We were having this, if you draw a trend line there, we had a bearish structure there, but price has now currently broken through those bearish structures, the structure points there, and we are bullish, right? So we are bullish there. On the weekly we are bullish, so we are only looking to take long positions. So let's look at the 4-hour, let's look at the 12-hour time frame once. So the 12-hour time frame is clear, very bullish as well. So let's look at the 4-hour time frame once. So what do we see here, right? You see this purple area that I've drawn out. This is your support and resistance, right? Resistance, support, resistance, right? So it's a heavy area of confluence, and you have a lot of supply demand at this area as well, right? So I'll be looking to take long positions possibly if we get a retest of this area here, right? This area here, hopefully. And also actually with the 4-hour, something is extremely clear. What do we see? Head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders there, again bullish. So I'll be looking to take longs here at, let's call it 33,750 possibly, or maybe let's call it 740, right? So remember, these are areas, supply demand isn't exactly a particular number, it's an area, right? So this is why I've drawn out an area here that I'll be looking to take long positions from. So this is where I'll be interested to see what price does, right? So possibly here. Alright, so this is with US30, and let's look at NAS100 and then SPX. Alright, so let's look at NAS100. Let's look at the monthly time frame with NAS. NAS100 has much clearer indices. Much clearer structure compared to the other indices pairs, such as the US30 and SPX, because it's giving us a lot of trending motions, clear structure, right? So if you look at the NAS100, it's clearly bullish, right? If you look at structure, it's completely bullish, and if you look at the current monthly time frame closures, also quite bullish, right? It's completely gave us a rejection there, a lot of buying pressure, and we see candle closed at the top there, right? So quite bullish. Let's look at the weekly time frames. So the weekly time frame, I've drawn out this trend line here, right? It's stuck inside this wedge here at the moment, and if you look at the current weekly time frame, it's kind of breaking it, right? It's broken it pretty much. but we need some confirmation with the upcoming week if it can hold this area as support. But if you do look, it's a bullish engulfing, clearly bullish. We're bullish on the monthly, on the weekly, in fact even on the daily, right? A lot of multi-time frame correlation here, right? Very high probability to be taking long positions. So if you do look at the structure, very bullish. So if you do look at my area that I've marked out here on the daily, what do we see? Resistance, support, support, right? A clear area of area of confluence, right? So I'll be looking to take long positions from around this area here, and to be a bit more specific, possibly take positions from, let's see, yeah, possibly take positions from around here. If possible, we get that retracement all the way down here. It would be around this area there at 12,000, let's call it 128.30, right? So that's where I'll be looking to take long positions from for NAS100. Let's look at SPX, S&P 500. Let's look at the monthly time frame. Monthly time frame bullish, right? Very bullish, with especially with the current closure, because it's broke out of this range it was stuck in for a few months, right? All the way from November of last year. So finally we are seeing a bullish move, and this is a bullish. If you look at the last bearish candle, this is a bullish variation pattern, right? So this is bullish. We look at the weekly time frame, you see my trend line there, it's currently broken through, right? Kind of has found support, and we do see a bullish structure here clearly, right? So on the weekly is bullish as well. On the daily also clearly bullish, because it's breaking through all the structure areas on the daily, right? You see the structure breaking through all the way, and a massive bullish engulfing, right? So for SPX, I've drawn out two areas here, possibly, right? Let's look at this lower time frame, possibly. So there are two areas I'll be looking at, right? And I would be a bit careful, because possibly price can retrace to 2 points here. One could be around this area here at 4075, 4075, or around 4120, right? So let me mark out both the points, and again I mark out these points, but you have to take your confluences into account, right? Take all of your confluences, see if price found support, your entry signals, and then take the trade. So let's call this at 4070 around this area. Let me look at the 1 hour time frame once. Alright, so yep, I would say these are two areas of confluence I'm really looking to take long positions for SPX, right? So right there. And now let's look at, let me delete this. This is the previous week's entry point. Alright, so let's look at gold now, right? Commodities. Gold has been extremely choppy this week though. Not a lot of movement at all, which I'll show you in a minute. But look at the monthly time frame. There's a lot of interesting details here. So the monthly time frame has given us a massive rejection, almost towards the 2022 high, right? Also the red line that we see that's been sloping here, that's the yearly trend line. So it's rejected the yearly trend line, and at the moment has kind of made a triple top, right? Which is a bearish signal. But structure wise we are bullish, right? Structure wise we're quite bullish. And let's look at the weekly, right? Let's look at the weekly. But we have one indication of bearish, right, on the monthly time frame. So keep that in mind. And let's look at the weekly time frame. What do we see? We see a clear bullish structure going up, right? Clear bullish structure. And at the moment we see a lot of choppiness at this area here, right? Around this area. One sec, let me delete this. So we'll see a lot of choppiness here inside this area. But price is technically still bullish, right? Why is that? Is because this area here has to break. So if this area here breaks, right, this would confirm a bias on the weekly that it is bearish on the weekly. And also obviously if that area breaks there, this weekly structure point at 1969, 1970. If that area breaks, that will also confirm a daily bearish bias, right? Because technically on bearish we are still on the daily we are bearish, but if the weekly time frame also aligns, then I'll be looking to take short positions, right? So for the moment, wait for the weekly structure point to break, right? Wait for the daily to break, because if you look at the daily, it has been in a very, very choppy range, right? Waiting for the FOMC meeting and more clearer direction on the dollar index, right? So let's wait for that. And personally, I wouldn't call out any moves here yet till this area breaks. So if you want to see updates with the gold entry points, maybe join our free Telegram, which is in the description, right? It's completely free. We keep on putting a lot of knowledge for free in the free Telegram, so please join there. So let's look at now let's look at Japanese yen, British pound and Japanese yen. And we had a massive move. This trade here was called out on the free Telegram, right? Me personally, I wasn't able to get the entry perfectly. I took it a little prematurely around this point here on the top. But we see what happened was price liquidity grab last week, and if you do see, what did it do? Liquidity grab, broke the last lows, triggered everyone's stop losses, took a new sell stops, right? Grabbed a lot of liquidity, and then it shot up. So the entry was a bit off, which is annoying, because this move went up for a massive move for about 500 pips, and this move would have been around a 1 to 15 days to reward, right? Which is insane. So let's look at the monthly time frame, right? Let's begin with the monthly. So the monthly time frame, what do we see? We see bullish. It's clearly bullish, right? And the way it closed as well, extremely bullish. No wick to the top, showing buyers were in control till the market closed, right? So very bullish. But what I would like to see is possibly price breaking through these highs here and maybe finding support around there. But it is bullish, right? There is no mistaking that. If you look at the bi-weekly time frame, which is the 2 week, clearly bullish, no mistaking that. Weekly bullish, right? I mean, that last week candle was insane. So let's look at the daily time frame. So what do we see with the daily? We had clear higher highs, right? Higher lows. So we are bullish on the weekly, and therefore we are only looking to take long positions, right? Because all the time frames are aligned with bullish momentum, bullish bias. So let me delete this here. Alright, so let's see if we have any structure points here. Okay, let's look at the daily. What do we see with the daily happen here with the current price action? We see price was stuck in a bit of a range there, right? Kind of this, we could call this a complex pullback. The reason is we didn't see this higher low break. Therefore the structure was still bullish, right? So price gave us this bearish candle but did not drop below, and this is where we were looking to take longs from last week. And price did just do that, grabbed a lot of liquidity and moved. Therefore we are bullish, broke through the range there. Now we need to recognize which areas of interest would be interesting to take trades from, right? Higher probability. So if you look at this area that I've drawn out, this purple area, what do we see? We see support, we see resistance, right? Again and again, right? A lot of confluence, a lot of supply and demand, right? This area. So you go down to the 4-hour time frame, and what do we see in the 4-hour time frame? We see price has been extremely bullish, right? Like on the 4-hour time frame, and possibly we can maybe draw out another area of support and resistance. Let's call it here, right? And why is that? Why did I draw that? What do we see? Resistance, support, and resistance, right? A lot of confluence around this area, and a lot of supply demand. So we'll be looking to possibly take trades off from this area here, a long position, if price can retrace there. And let me go down to the 1 hour time frame. Yep, so I like this area a lot, right? This area would be interesting. So let's look at the 30-minute ones. Yep, possibly take positions around here, right? Which would be at let's call it at 160, almost around that 167 100 range, right? And we do have a massive range, right? If we can get a retest here and price does then take off, there is a massive range all the way. Let me actually show you the range, right? All the way towards here, which is around 300, almost 400 pips, right? So I'll be interested to take longs there. Alright, so I was requested to take a look at another pair, a pair that I don't trade, but I'll do it because of a request. I'll look at British pound, US dollar as well. And of course, if you would like me to look at different pairs for the coming week, just drop it in the Telegram and I may just drop a breakdown for those pairs, right? So let me delete this. I think this is a older marking maybe. So let's look at the monthly time frame first. I mean, the monthly is completely bullish, right? Why is that? We do see a inverted head and shoulders, right? Very clear. Plus, what do we see? Price has given us a bullish variation pattern, breaking up the highs over here, creating a new new higher low, right? So very bullish. Let's look at the bi-weekly time frame as well. What do we see? Price broke through that trend line there, jumped up, created a new higher low, and is bullish. Let's look at the weekly time frame. Let's look at the weekly, and in the weekly was a bit bearish for a while, right? What do we see happen here? Not bearish, sorry, a bit choppy. So this candle there started showing us a slowdown and momentum of this movement here, and possibly a retracement towards below. But after the fundamentals that came out this week and a lot of the banking crisis panic and the Fed upcoming FOMC pricing in the Fed meeting, right? We saw price did not give us that retracement, right? So we are bullish, right? But technically we are bullish on every time frame here, even on the daily. What does the daily show? The daily shows us that it's breaking through this area of consolidation on the daily. This orange box that I've drawn here is broken through, giving us a confirmation that price is ready to take off, right? And it has broken through, right? So we are only looking to take long positions for now. Let me delete this area here. Let's look at the 12-hour time frame for more details. All right, so quite bullish. Let's look. Let me find an area of support or resistance here on the lower time frame, and possibly around here. So there. So of course, anytime you don't find enough data, stretch out your supply demand towards the left, or support and resistance towards the left to find to get it perfectly, right? Align. So yeah, I think this area would be quite interesting. Let me actually go down to the 4 hours to see if I can tighten up the area there. Yeah, I guess this is perfectly fine. Maybe I can tighten it up a bit there. Yep, I guess this will do, right? So we have our support and resistance here. Why did I draw this out? Clearly, resistance, support, resistance, support, support, right? So area of confluence, and now we'll be looking to take trades off from around this area here, and let's find out the best area of interest. So let me look at the lower time frame on the 30-minute, possibly around here. Alright, so around here, possibly at this area down here. Let me mark this off in a white. Supply demand there. Alright, so this is an area of interest I'll be looking to take long from for GU. I don't personally trade it, but if you do trade this, this is an area of interest that I'll be looking for, right? Keeping an eye on. So this area here at, let's call it 124.750, a quarter point. Right there. So this is the GU, and GU and also the range, if you do see, again, just a bit like GJ, clear, nice, beautiful range of around 113 pips, right? So that is an area of interest that I look at. All right, so we are done with the weekly technical analysis and fundamentals. So if there are any questions regarding the video or any analysis that you want me to look at, please drop it in the free Telegram. The link for the free Telegram is in the description. I will suggest you to join. That's where we will be updating the group, or maybe even updating if the structure changes with the technicals, we update with new entry points in the weekly analysis in the Telegram, right? Because as structure develops, maybe the entry points can change. We do not predict, we only adapt and react as traders, right? So I'll be updating with the fundamentals as well in the group. Join there. And of course, please like and subscribe if you want to see more, and that can tell me that maybe it would be wise for me to keep continuing to do this, because I don't have personal benefit out of this. Yeah, so like and subscribe, and hopefully I see you next week. Right, see you.